supply chain challenges in 2022. Are things going to get better or worse? My guest is Inna Kuznetsova. She is CEO of 1010 Data. Hello, Inna.
Hello, and thank you very much for inviting me, Robert.
And thank you for joining me. You know, we've all heard about major shifts in consumer behavior in 2020 and in 2021. I'm just wondering, though, what are some examples that you've seen of changes already taking place in 2022?
So we all have seen the big shifts to the use of e-commerce and alternative delivery and BOPIS in 2020, and then the continuation of those trends in 21. We have started new trends or enhanced trends in 21 spilling into 22. One of those is continuous growth of subscriptions. For example, when you go to Amazon, subscriptions on Amazon jumped 140%, right? So 2.5 times in the last 2 years. And if in 2020 they doubled from a relatively small number, the further growth of 20% in 21 was pretty astonishing. It was interesting to see what categories were the most popular in the end of 21 and 22. Interestingly enough, it's obvious that retailers benefit from subscriptions. They enhance customer loyalty and the customers get better prices. But we have started seeing customers using subscriptions to enhance their own good habits. Vitamins and skincare came as number 1 and 2 categories in the subscription goals year to year. Another big trend is the increase in private labels. And again, we understand that this is great for the retailers who can benefit from the best trends and get the most profitability, as well as a higher level of control of their supply chain, because with the private label, they have better chances to ensure that their shelves are stocked. It was interesting to see the shift in what is used as private label. So just an interesting fact, in 21, we saw a home organization and storage coming up very strong, 3 times higher than the overall home improvement category. So I think all of us have been home for a while, and with Omicron on the horizon in the December, January, we all figured out it's time to find this extra space, or at least get our things in order.
That's a lot to swallow in one. The year has barely begun, and we're already seeing these changes. And it's interesting that a lot of those changes you described, they're not specifically new. I mean, private labels were a major selling point of big box retailers for many years. And subscriptions also were something, but they're really picking up now. I just wonder why that might be. Do you have any idea, for instance, why private labels are becoming? Amazon has led the way in so many of its private labels. Are the other retailers just copying Amazon and increasing their use on e-commerce, or what?
I think more and more retailers find themselves pressured for profitability with the growing cost of labor, with the growing cost of operations and supply chain disruption. And that's one of the factors why they find no stone unturned in an effort to increase profitability, which of course private label allows them to do. But I also strongly believe that the other part of it is the supply chain. With the stock outs for a lot of familiar labels, customers are much more open to try anything else, but also for the retailer, it is a much easier control point. If you have your own private label, ensuring the proper levels of safety stock becomes easier. So we kind of saw the perfect storm around private label in the end of 21 and going into 22.
So let's talk about the issue of inventory, though. It seems that a lot of companies are starting to realize that they need more of it, that just-in-time and inventory minimization strategies did not serve their needs when disruptions began to appear. That being the case, how then can companies reduce the cost of inventory when it seems like they need more of it?
I think the only way to ensure the cost of inventory are under control is to ensure that you carry the right inventory. With the increased lead times and transportation disruption, the companies are forced to keep a higher safety stock and higher inventory. But sorting out what becomes much more important. And it boils down to very flexible forecast of demand, very granular view of data, understanding that consumer preferences change a lot, right? There are times when we all start baking and yeast flies off the shelves, and there are times when we all go back to office and forget about baking, and yeast becomes, if not an orphan product, but a much less popular option. So seeing that data in granularity, in the very last minute view, right? Very recent data, not just based on your last 52 weeks of consumer behavior. And most important, setting the proper collaboration between retailers and the CPG providers, the manufacturers. That is what allows to keep those costs a little bit down just by being very selective on what you carry at any given time.
This leads us into a discussion of data, specifically the sharing of data between CPG companies and retailers. How good a job are they doing of it now, and what needs to be done in order to improve that process?
There are retailers and CPGs who are doing an excellent job on sharing data, and they get the benefit of improved stock in, stock outs, and on time and full behavior. The retailers also get the advantage of monetizing their data. And remember, data monetization is a fabulous thing. You generate data once, you sell it many times, but most important, you get a very high profitability on maybe the small sale that offsets some of the costs.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger picture, though, is that being able to share on time and full delivery with CPGs and looking at the same data is the foundation of improving on time and full delivery. We do a lot of projects for our customers now where they start looking into not just monitoring those KPIs internally, but sharing them with their providers, with the manufacturers. And by nature of data sharing, when the data is sold by retailers, there is a possibility to offset some of the costs associated with setting up that system. We see retailers and CPGs sharing data around promotions and improving the effectiveness of promotions running, because it's no secret that over 70% of promotions fail. Either you cannibalize the existing products, or you sell and promote wrong products to wrong people. I'll give you an example. As a vegan, I get a lot of promotions around meats and dairy and eggs, and of course they don't achieve the effect. I'm sure all of us can share a lot of such examples. So being much more granular in personalization of promotion and much more granular in which SKUs, which products are subject to promotions, analyzing results in real time and resetting promotion as you go, not months after the promotion has ended and you just see it in the rearview mirror and cannot change anything. All of those methods are very effective for improving the profitability, and yet they require data and data analytics tools and very granular analysis setup. Do
you really think that retailers and CPG companies are agile enough in order to shift direction in the middle of a promotion, whether that means what type of product they're offering, how much of it, where it's being offered? Can they really make those changes right in the middle of a promotional campaign?
I think if they set their minds on doing that, it is absolutely possible. And remember, you don't have to do 100%, do 90%, do 80%, and you already will come better compared to the results. But we know a lot of examples when retailers change pricing daily. And especially today with the supply chain disruption and transportation pricing, we hear from retailers that suddenly they have to go to the store and change pricing on the shelves much, much faster. Well, that also applies to changing the promotion and promotional prices, right? So if you have the data to act on, if you have clear insights on what to do, it becomes the matter of execution. And I think those who execute the best will win in this game going forward.
You seem to be painting a pretty optimistic picture of the ability of this industry to adjust to big changes in consumer demands. Let me cycle back, to finish this, to the point, or to the title I cited at the beginning, and that is 2022. Will supply chain challenges get better? I mean, will the supply chain better or worse in the short term, the rest of this year, based on all we've been talking about for the last few minutes? How do you see that shaping up for retailers and CPG companies?
So I am optimistic about the possibility to use crisis for improvement. I'm far less optimistic about what's coming in supply chain. So far, we see very little relief in shipping prices, very moderate relief in delays caused by shipping. We're
Mhm.
seeing increased lead time in manufacturing and production. And I think it is time to start adjusting to new realities as opposed to sit and wait for the end of the disruption. I'm afraid we have to assume that disruption will last for quite a while. And then the question begins, how can you use that disruption to get forward? How can you modify your processes, invest in data, invest in analytics tools, invest in the agility of your own processes, if not everywhere, then maybe in a limited group of stores, and get the results, but start adjusting the business based on the fast changing market conditions.
That is a great wake-up call. Thank you so much, Inna Kuznetsova of 1010 Data, for spending time with me to talk about the plight of retailers and CPG companies and just how it's going to shape up the coming year. Thank you very much for being with me.
Thank you for inviting me.